Verina is probably the strongest support as of the time this video releases, and she is also one of the only units, if not the only one, who basically requires close to no field time to achieve that. She is a rectifier wielding Spectra support who provides various team-wide buffs with basically 100% uptime, healing, off-field follow-up attacks and a death protection passive. We will talk about her skills, her best weapons, echoes, her best echo set, her best teams, her sequence nodes, and how to play her correctly. Let's go. Thanks to Nadoshio and Catalyst Online for providing Verina footage for me to use. First up are her skills. Her basic attacks are, to be honest, just basic attacks, and since you will not use them, also we don't have to care about them, and because of that, let's skip them. However, her skill is where she starts to shine. While the skill in itself only deals some Spectra damage, it will also generate 30 Concerto energy for her on a 12-second cooldown. This is huge, and we will get back to this later into the video. Her Resonance Liberation requires 175 energy to cast, deals a low amount of Spectra damage, restores HP by a flat amount and a portion of her attack, and applies a photosynthesis mark on enemies hit on a 25-second cooldown. When any team member or nearby resonator, that means your friend, hits an enemy affected by a photosynthesis mark, Verina will launch a coordinated attack. I still prefer to call it follow-up attack. Towards the target, dealing a small amount of Spectral damage and restoring HP to the resonator who inflicted said damage. Both also scale off her attack. This mark lasts for 12 seconds and the follow-up attack can be triggered once every second, or in other words a maximum of 12 times. Her Fort Circuit, I will just refer to it as Fort from now on, allows her to hold up to 4 stacks of photosynthesis energy. Every 5th hit of her basic attack, skill or intro skill will grant her 1 stack, and you basically only care about her skill for this matter anyway. Casting any heavy attack will consume 1 stack and restores 12 Concerto energy to her while also healing all nearby party members. Her intro skill deals some minor damage and you don't really care about this. However, her outro is what you actually care about. Her Archer skill can be cast when her Concerto energy is at 100, and while it will restore HP equal to 19% of her attack to the next character switching in, she will also grant a 15% all-type damage bonus to the entire team for 30 seconds. One important note here, at least of the CVT2, this was actually a true undiluted modifier, hence it literally just means your entire team does 15% more damage. This is extremely strong and not to be undervalued. However, if this was changed, maybe it's not that strong anymore, but still very good and she still is the best support. Anyway, next is her inherent skill, Grace of Life, which will protect one party member from dying once every 10 minutes, while also granting them a shield equal to 120% of her attack. Her secondary skill, Gift of Nature, will increase all party members' attack by 20% for 20 seconds when she casts a heavy attack, her ultimate or outro skill. Ignoring her skills, we now can get to her skill priority. Honestly, we mostly care about the buffs she provides to the team, so you actually don't have to level any of her skills at all. Reason being that only her healing and damage actually scales with her skill levels, and we do not really care much about that in any case. However, if you feel like getting the maximum potential out of her, prioritize her ultimate first, followed by her fort and skill, basic attacks, and lastly her intro skill. Before we can actually talk about her best echo stats, we have to talk about her energy requirements and weapons, because her wanted stats vary widely depending on those. With Verina, we want to aim for 160 to 225% energy regeneration. The actual amount required varies widely on how much Resonance Liberation energy your other team members can generate for Verina within 25 seconds. 25 seconds because that is the cooldown of her ultimate. For example, Jiyan is able to generate around 100 energy within 8 seconds, approximately, which means she's able to share 30 energy to the team in the same time, and that equals around 4 energy per second. But this is also on the higher end and requires no flaws in execution, which simply is not realistic, due to the very active and aggressive nature of enemies in this game, and hence the requirement to actively dodge and parry. We will for now assume an average passive energy income of 2.5 Resonance Liberation energy per second regardless of her team for Verina. This would put her at an energy regeneration requirement of about 180%. At 2 energy per second from teammates, that is 215%, and at 3 energy per second, 160%. Verina's best rotation looks like this, as you can see right now on screen, and that is for basically all teams. And it requires a specific setup of cooldown management and ER requirements, as I mentioned before. However, we get back to this later. Knowing this, we can now finally talk about her best weapons and echoes, although somewhat in a single go. Strictly speaking, her best weapon is the R5 Stringmaster, followed by R5 Cosmic Ripples, then both weapons in their R1 versions in the same order. They will both provide you with the highest damage and healing potential for Verina, however, they require you to hit the energy regen breakpoints for your specific team by just your Echo main and substats alone. I guess Cosmic Ripples does provide 12.8% ER, but that alone won't do too much. I will get to the ER requirements by the team again a little bit later into the section, even though we will mostly just assume 180%. Anyway, both of these are 5-star gacha weapons, so let's have a look at the other weapons. If you cannot meet the ER requirements, Variation is the best choice, as it allows you to hit the 100 Concerto within the same rotation without your ultimate and still provides you ER to maybe still hit or at least get close to said breakpoint. Overcapping on Concerto is not optimal, but also not the end of the world. However, what I said before is actually somewhat a lie. Your actual best choice to meet your ER requirements is the craftable rectifier number 25. Yeah, that's the actual name. Providing the same ER as Variation, but trading Concerto for attack percent, this weapon will give you the highest damage and healing of the 4-star weapons. Since this honestly is a little bit much to understand, here is a really badly illustrated flowchart to help you find your weapon. Just take this one. Anyway, that said, for the Echo substats, you'll mainly want ER and attack percent depending on your teams and weapons, maybe a little Spectral percent is fine as well. Here's an overview of the best main stats and substat roles for maximum efficiency for all the breakpoints and weapons. I don't really want to bore you reading hundreds of numbers, so pause the video now if you want to read them all. For the set, you definitely want the 5-piece Rejuvenating Glow set as to provide a substantial attack percent boost to the entire team. Moonlit Clouds is an okayish alternative if you are lacking just a little bit of energy regeneration or it simply has better substats. However, losing out on the team-wide attack buff from Rejuvenating Glow is a massive hit to your team's overall damage. If you have Variation, Reju is the better set regardless of what your substats are, as you don't have to hit the ER requirements. For the Echo ability, Bellbone is by far her best choice, as it also provides a 10% damage boost for your team for a short while, 3 attacks to be exact. If you run the Moonlit set and you do not have Bellborn, Impermanence Heron is another fine, even if suboptimal choice, lowering your ER requirements a bit further in exchange for some more field time. So let's talk about the Weiss and her rotation again a little bit more in depth. Verina excels at providing strong damage buffs to the entire team, however she wants to reach 100 Concerto for that as soon as possible while also having her ultimate up at the same time. Her Resonance skill grants her by far the most Concerto energy, 30 to be exact, followed by her ultimate with 20 and her fort with 12. To recap, you consume a stack of photosynthesis energy, which will restore 12 Concerto whenever you cast a heavy attack, and you gain a stack whenever you cast your skill. Since Verina also doesn't deal that much damage, we want to absolutely minimize her field time, and a large portion of the damage she deals is from her follow-up attacks anyway, which is her ultimate. Around 36% to be more or less correct. To reiterate her rotation, her best rotation for basically all teams is skill into heavy attack, then directly switch her out and switch her in again after 12 seconds, and you go again skill into heavy attack, and then it depends a little bit on your weapon if you then cast your ultimate. However, both times you will generate 42 Concerto, granting you 84 in total. If you have the weapon Variation at rank 1, you will end up at exactly 100 Concerto, allowing you to immediately activate your auto skill without actually casting your ultimate. If you can hit the ER requirements, and I would recommend you to do so, you will use your ultimate before doing the outro. This entire rotation will last exactly 25 seconds, which allows you for a perfect uptime with the ultimate at 180% ER, and the 30 seconds on the buff of our outro. But again, depending on the team, you might need more or less. Her effective time on field during all of this, however, is basically none. This brings us to her node sequences, and since we don't care too much about her own damage, I will cover only the most noteworthy here. Her sequence 2 is by far the strongest option here, as it will allow you to generate 40 instead of 30 concerto for your skill, effectively allowing you to skip the heavy attacks. This will also reduce her field time from just a few seconds to just a few frames, at least if you do use variation, and skip all RR requirements, as you can easily achieve the outro by just skill-heavy skill. This means you can slap literally any echo you want on her and just stop caring. This is by far her best sequence to go for if you care about ease of access, but it is certainly not required, as you also kind of want to cast her ultimate. The next noteworthy sequence would be her sequence 4, as it now also allows her to be a specific support for Spectro DPS. The problem herein lies we don't really have an extremely good Spectro DPS yet, however, if you are maining rover, this will pair extremely well with them, increasing rover CPS by a further around 8%. Her other sequences are either damage or healing focused and hence neither needed nor especially good, except if you like playing DPS Verina. That being said, let's cover some teams. Please note, all assumptions are based on CBT2 data, specific energy and time requirements, and against a literal target dummy who doesn't do anything. Hence, you will basically never be able to actually 100% reproduce set rotations. For a more free-to-play friendly team, Rover, Mortefy and Verina make up for a good basic team. Verina will need around 180% ER for this team, and Mortefy will need around 160 to 170% ER. You can see the individual field times and rotations on screen right now. Also please read the note on the top right hand corner. Yanlin, Calchado and Verina are another team where she requires only about 160% ER, though I would still recommend 180% due to previously mentioned disclaimer. Especially Calchado will not generate as much damage and energy in any practical scenario as he does on paper. Again, you have to dodge, he doesn't gain stacks while dodging, hence he sucks. Well, not literally, but you get what I mean. If you don't have Yanlin, you could technically speaking substitute her with Mortefy, however, even though quite a few do recommend the team, you will lose quite a bit of DPS and I would hence not necessarily recommend it. Verina honestly fits basically in a lot of teams, if not all of them, hence I will all save us some time here and leave it at those two teams. Slot her in wherever you can. If you would like to know the ER requirements for any specific team, you can either place test by yourself, as you will notice quite fast if you do not have enough ER, or you can join our Discord and ask around. Thanks a lot for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a nice day.